Okay, so this afternoon's session is prospecting, easy for me to say, proposals, pipeline, Agent Evaluator. As most of you know, the Agent Evaluator program consists of HomeGain delivering buyers and sellers, online buyers and sellers, to real estate professionals. Our speaker this afternoon is Wayne Long with ShepherdBrokers.com in Columbus, Georgia. Wayne was a top producer for 2006, 7, and 8, and he also sits on the Columbus Board of Realtors. Our first panelist is Carl Medford with Windermere Properties of the East Bay. Just want to mention a couple of little things about Carl. He's a #1 HomeGain realtor in the San Francisco East Bay for 2007-2008, HomeGain State Top Performer for 2008. He was awarded Realtor.com's Online Marketing Award of Excellence, rated in the top 1% of realtors nationally, and ranked in the top 0.1% of realtors in Alameda County. Carl. Our second panelist is Karen Brain-Elia of Chicago Homes. I just want to mention in passing that Karen has managed to close 51 transactions using Agent Evaluator. Karen entered the real estate business in 1988 when she became a licensed Illinois realtor. Since then, she's expanded her title from agent to broker and has received multiple designations, including Certified Residential Specialist, Accredited Buyer Representative, Graduate of Realtor Institute, Senior Real Estate Specialist, and ePro. Karen is consistently ranked in the top 1% of the 17,000 members of the Chicago Association of Realtors. Welcome, speakers and panelists.
First of all, I probably need to correct a couple of things. I work with my wife, and Donna, she's in the back of the room there. And actually, she's on the board of realtors, and as top producers, we work together. So she's probably a much better realtor than I am, if the truth be known. We both have our strengths. We work together, and we work pretty hard at this thing. So, all right. I think we're supposed to talk, as I understand it, about the Agent Evaluator. I use more than one program with HomeGain. I got started with HomeGain really because of my wife. She was a realtor before I was, and so I had my license, but I had not actually started into real estate. So I started looking for a way to help her increase her clients. So I found HomeGain, and I signed up for it, and she really wasn't that interested in it, to truth be known. So she kept on doing what she's good at, and it just kind of sat over there on the side. So then I decided to start into real estate. So I started into real estate, and I actually wrote a blog post about this called Hooked on HomeGain. I started into real estate, and I immediately, I said, well, I'd been reading some things about, using the internet to do real estate. And so I said, well, I'm going to see how this HomeGain thing works. So I started responding to some of the leads. 2 days into real estate, one of the leads was a listing lead, and she went with me, went out and got the listing, and 2 days later we sold the listing, and 30 days later we closed it. So obviously I was hooked right off the bat, and I actually credit HomeGain with, I consider myself an internet realtor, and I think HomeGain is what started me down that path. I've kind of expanded that path some, but they're the ones that got me started. I think you had a kind of a similar experience, if I remember right.
Yeah, back in 1999, I guess it was maybe the first year of HomeGain. Actually, I also work with my husband Lewis, who I don't see him there, but we have 5 children between the two of us, and so periodically, the kids, they come, they go, So one of our sons was working with us, and he's very internet savvy. And he said, here, I think you should do this. And I said, well, what is it? I'm always the skeptical one. He said, well, it's HomeGain. You just sign up, and they send you leads, and you respond, and I think... So I looked at it, and I said, okay, I'll try this. And I'd say within probably 2 or 3 weeks, I got a listing lead for a townhome back in 1999. I looked it up. I think it was $434,000, which in 1999 was pretty good. And so, yeah, pretty good now too. Now that we're back then.
It is in my world. It may not be in yours.
So, closed this townhouse, and it was just, I was hooked from then on. And what I like about it is I think that you wind up working, if the people that are responding to you, your proposal is really a reflection of who you are, what your personality is. I think it was Wayne said something earlier about being rather verbose. I can be too. I'm going to give them cross every T and dot every I. And I think what happens is that you get people that respond to your personality type because you're expressing it in your proposal. And so therefore you already kind of have a common ground. And I think that really brings something of value, where rather than just your friend refers you and you don't know if you're going to have that commonality in your personality. But with HomeGain, I think you really have something that's good. Oh, there's Lewis. He's hiding behind the pole. So I do, like I said, and then also at slow times, I have found HomeGain to be very, very good to me. So that it used to be about 60% of my business was either past clients or their referrals, and now 40% of it is internet-based, and the majority of that is from HomeGain.
Just a little preface before I say anything. I realize this is the hardest part of the day. We had a great lunch, and some of you are already starting to nod, so don't make us come out there and wake you up, please. Do that on your own. I got into this. I retired from a profession I've been in for years in 2001. Started a construction company, started as a realtor with the idea of buying and selling investment properties. The construction company took off beyond our wildest expectations. I needed some way of generating a real estate business without spending a whole lot of time. Went and met with a bunch of agents, said, I want to be an internet realtor, and they said, not going to happen. No such thing exists. So we kind of wrote the category as we went, and HomeGain was where we got started, and as it turns out was fantastic to start with, and it's been the mainstay of our internet business ever since. So we're really, really pleased. Profiles are everything. I was in a people-oriented job for a number of years, so I understand how they think, and I think that skills helped a lot.
One of our first things up here says, why AgentEvaluator? Of course, I gave you how I got started and maybe the why for me, but I think that one of the great things about AgentEvaluator is like these guys have said, you put your profile out there. When somebody requests information, you already have a pre-built profile that they can look at. So you respond to their question. I have, and I think everybody that's successful with this has pre-built templates that they can send out. We customize them so that it is personalized, so it comes through as a personal message, but it's pre-built so you can do it in a hurry. That's one of the things that HomeGain taught me to start with, was that is to build these templates and have things that I could copy and paste and send out quickly, or that type thing. But we can send out a proposal quickly, and with that proposal, it has our profile, our business history, all about us. So the person is searching basically anonymously, which they like to do. They can see all about us. They can see about our business history. They can go visit our website, and then if they desire, they can contact us. And so I think it gives people that feeling that I'm anonymous, I'm checking the people out, and then I contact them if I want to. And so I don't know what your feelings are on this.
If you've ever gone fishing, you've got to know what kind of fish you're going after. You put the right kind of lure on that thing, and you go after them with all you got. We have to tailor the proposals. I continuously get told it's your proposals that kind of won the day. I use a lot of humor, and that seems to work really, really well, trying to cut through some of the stuff up front, and it works exceedingly well.
I find that putting in there the neighborhood familiarity, in other words, that they feel comfortable that you know their neighborhood. And so I will, for each zip code, whatever zip code I'm responding to, I will put in there all of the properties, or almost all. It depends on which neighborhood. But a lot of them that I've sold recently. Now, the word recently is a relative term, so I may have to go back more than 3 or 4 or 5 years to get what I consider to be enough to be credible, but they're still my personal sales. Now, if you're just starting in real estate, you certainly could use your company's recent sales in that neighborhood so that, they feel comfortable with that. But I think that that really does build credibility that I have sold properties in your neighborhood. And this would be obviously for the listing, the sellers. Well, actually, and buyers too, come to think of it.
Sure, absolutely. One of the things that's mentioned here is that it's a pipeline building tool. I think that especially when I started with HomeGain, I was just starting out in real estate. So I had no leads, and Donna and I moved to Columbus, so we didn't grow up there. We didn't know everybody. So we didn't have that kind of base that maybe some people do. So we had to have a way to have leads. And this was a way for us to immediately start connecting with people, sending us leads when we really didn't have any presence out there of our own. So it built a pipeline for us immediately. Now that we've been out there a while, it still, helps build our pipeline. It still helps us keep our pipeline full. And now maybe we have some more history and credibility that we can add to our profiles than we did to start with. To start with, we kind of had to just make up something and go. Like she said, maybe use your broker's stuff or whatever you had to do. But I don't know if you have anything to add to that or that.
We found that we have to figure out what it is that they want to hear, not what I want to tell them. And so often we're interested in embellishing how great we are and how many sales we've had and all the rest of that stuff. So we've changed our profiles recently to telling them what we're going to do for them. We make it exceedingly personal. I actually have in my profiles, I understand that this is about you. And it really connects on a personal level with them. And this is a beauty contest. There's no nice way to say this. In our market, we get 25 to 30 realtors competing for the same buyer. You got to have a nice picture in there, a realistic picture, so that when you meet your buyer at a Starbucks, they recognize you. It's really strange how many of those pictures are fake. Yeah. I seem to have hit a nerve. Okay, and then in the profile, you put in things so they understand who you are as a person. Put in hobbies and things like that. Make yourself as personal, as personable as possible.
Totally agree with that.
Absolutely. Every word.
I think it's a chance, as we're saying, to put to build a rapport with people up front and put your best foot forward before you ever meet them. So
I also think that I don't do really geographical farming. I let HomeGain do that for me. And so I find that instead of spending marketing dollars developing a geographical farm, I do it through HomeGain, and it's been very successful. I feel like I'm really reaching the people that need my services rather than just doing the shotgun approach of mailing to everybody on a particular block. So it develops a pipeline, but it's more of a targeted pipeline.
This next slide talks about lead generation, and to me, that's the lifeblood of a realtor. I see realtors at my office, wandering the halls, and they're hoping that a sale's going to fall on them somehow. And it's you have to have leads. If you don't have leads, you're dead in the water. There are multiple ways to generate leads. In my opinion, the internet is the very best way to generate leads at this point in time, and HomeGain is an excellent tool to provide you with that pipeline of leads. Agreed. Okay. It sounds like I'm not having a hard time selling that. I think that I think that one of the things that I would like to stress is the return on investment. Your agent evaluator program, it costs very little unless you get a sale. If you get a sale, you do pay a referral fee. To me, that's that's fine. I'm glad to. These are sales that I wouldn't have. So if I give HomeGain a portion of my sale, great. This 100% of nothing is still nothing. So I would rather pay a referral fee than a lot of companies want you to pay per lead, and that's okay. I'm not opposed to that, but from my perspective, a closed sale is better than a possible.
Yeah, having the money to pay the referral is always nice. So I prefer this system to some of the other ones that are more front-loaded.
Yeah.
When I first started doing this and first started getting closed transactions with HomeGain, I had a very huge obstacle to get over called my wife. You're paying who? How much of your check? I said, well, we got a closing here, sweetheart.
Right.
75% or whatever the split is that you're on with, it is way better than nothing. And we found that dollar for dollar, that 25%, 22%, whatever it is you're paying, is the best advertising dollar that we pay all year long. It's automatic. They keep coming in. It's wonderful.
And it increases your future referral sources because you have new clients that you normally wouldn't have. And so those you don't have to pay HomeGain on because when they refer their friends to you after they've already become your clients. So it just really expands, I think, your database and your sphere of influence.
I've tried, and I don't know about these guys, but I'm sure some of you have. I've tried everything. So I've tried buying leads. I've tried several different companies doing that. I've tried lots of things. And the one I kept coming back to, and the one I had the most success with was HomeGain. All right. Now we want to talk about what maybe are some of the best practices to make your system work. We have again, I've tried a lot of things. I learned a lot through finding some of the best practices on HomeGain. I think we talked about this a minute ago, but I think it's very, very important that you make it personal, that people can connect with your picture, they connect with things about you. They can, as I said, they look at your history, they can look at all kind of things about you, and this helps build that connection, that rapport with your client before you ever meet them.
If any of you have worked with the DISC personality types, I think you want to try to keep your profile, and I have to spend a little bit more time on this myself, to make sure that your profile appeals to whatever personality type you're dealing with out there. So make sure that your business history is complete so you can satisfy the C's, and that maybe you have a strong statement in there for the D's, and you talk about the families and the pets. In our market, we have more pets than we do children. So this is the city of Chicago. So, you want to talk about the warm fuzzies for the S's. And so I just think that that's, something to keep in mind when you're constructing your templates and your profiles, to make sure that there's a little bit of something for everyone, depending on who's reading that profile.
We have something called the Ultimate Home Buying Experience. And we provide links to that. That'll provide bullet points for those people that want to look at something really fast. And then there's detailed information under there because we service a lot of engineers here in Silicon Valley area. So there's as much information or as little there as they want. They click through, they read it. As soon as they see things that they like, they click through to me, and we're good to go.
I've also, I don't know about you guys, but Donna and I have had clients who told us that they hired us based on the testimonials that we put in. So I think testimonials are very important. I think it tells it tells your story better if somebody else is talking about you rather than you talking about you. That all agreed? We talked a good bit about the personalization of this. The next thing that is vital to, I think we talked about this on any of the internet leads, whether it's buyer link or what it is that you respond quickly to people. And so if you get a lead coming in, that you respond right away. And what allows you to do that is what we talked about earlier, is building those templates And so you can modify them to the person and send them out quickly, and that allows you to respond right away.
Our response goal for these things is 30 seconds. And we try to be as consistent. I know some agents that 30 days, they're feeling really good about themselves. And please don't tell HomeGain that I have done this, but I've set up some trial balloons of my own to kind of see, what's going on out there, to kind of get a feel for this thing. And 45 days later, all of a sudden, some agent shows up, and I'm going, the party's over, dude. So 30 seconds, and if I can't get to it, I will text one of my team members, and I'll just keep texting them till I get one that can do it for me, and we get her done.
That's excellent. Talked about here keeping our templates simple. One of the things I found is they put a nice WYSIWYG in the template area now, so you can build your templates. You can add links back to your website, different parts of your website. So, people can find out more about you. They can go to your IDX. They can see different parts of your website. I would encourage you to use that WYSIWYG editor and put those things in. It's also important probably to use a clean template that's simple and people understand it. And, you don't have to tell them everything. They can research some of that and then come back to you. Well, I don't anyway. So. Well, that's the personality thing of using and different things appeal to different people. So, what else? Anything? Well, you need to. One thing they were hitting on recently, and I've not done as much of this. I intend to do more of this. Is to continue to resubmit proposals to people, because sometimes they're not necessarily. They may be looking today, and it may be a while before they buy, and just because they go off of your thing doesn't mean that you can't resubmit and keep following up with people.
I think the new notes section is good. I noticed that I was really using that. I was getting positive response, a higher percentage of responses from those people of the ones that I've recently used the notes on, because I think it just keeps persistence pays off.
It's about touch. The more times you can touch somebody, the more impact you're going to have, the more credibility you're going to have, the more likely they are to come back and choose you.
And don't give up on them. Too many agents, same thing with the buyer link, but people give up on this stuff too quick. It takes a little time. You start. I told you I had a great experience right off the bat, and I did. But it takes, sometimes it takes a little time, and sometimes you send out a lot of proposals but don't get anything. But again, it's kind of like fishing. You just have to keep casting out there, and it will return results. There's no doubt about it.
I got off to a slow start, and I just convinced myself that if I was going to make it long term, I was going to have to build an internet-based business, and so I just kept plugging away, and they started landing. And if I was going to tell somebody just starting with this program is don't give up after 1 month, 2 months, just keep working it, and all you need is your first one. After that, you've got you take their testimonial, put it on there, just keep working it, be patient. It will work over time.
I put this part on here, the more hooks in the water, the better. When I first started with HomeGain, they were the only hook I had. So, after a while, we've built more of an internet presence. We have a lot of past clients now. We work. We've got some builders we work with, so we have a lot of different angles that we work on to create leads and to generate sales. But at the same time, I continue to use the HomeGain evaluator, the agent evaluator, and buyer link to create more leads. And so we just continue we use it as more hooks in the water. We have our own SEO program going on. We have our builder program going on. We have our touch program going on with our sphere of influence, and we have our HomeGain thing going on. And that's we feel like if one slows up a little bit, the other will help us. the HomeGain thing is a predictable source. I know it works. I know it'll keep working. If I get penalized by Google, it'll keep humming. If I get, if a builder drops me, it'll keep humming. So, I think you need several sources of leads. You need those leads, just like I said before. You've got to have leads, and it's good to have more than one source.
I always felt that the quality of lead through HomeGain really is far superior than most, maybe second only to a personal referral, that a past client or friend will give you. But just as a quality of an internet lead as opposed to just someone who registers on my site or is using the IDX, I find that HomeGain leads, they're motivated, and a higher percentage of those turn into closed transactions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The mindset behind internet lead is kind of we don't want to give you anything, but when they finally click through to you, we have a set procedure. I'll meet with them at a Starbucks. Unless it's a listing appointment, then I'll meet with them in their home. But we meet them in a Starbucks. We have a set procedure that we go through that basically captures them right at the point there. And after that Starbucks, we're good to go. And we build in that this is going to be a fun process. I have them sign a document that it's not a buyer contract per se, but it's a list, 2 pages of what we're going to do for you, 1 page of what I want you, the buyer, to do for me. On that list of 4 things, number 4 is refer to me as we're going through the transaction. As you're happy, friends, family, and that starts clicking right away. I start getting phone calls and emails. Here's a friend that's looking, here's whatever. And it works exceedingly well. These are highly motivated people. They're highly intelligent people by and large because they're on the internet, and they're the best clients we've got.
I think that's a good point. I don't know that I do as well with that as it sounds like you do, but turning your leads that you get from HomeGain into future referrals is I think, probably critical. Okay, do we have other best practices we'd like to throw in here? And then from there, I think we're going to do a question and answer.
It's a beauty contest. There's no nice way to say it. You're competing with 25, 30 other agents in our market, and you've got to put your best foot forward, and that profile's got to look sharp. The whole thing's got to be professional, and that works very well. We had a buyer do a proposal, and in his comments he says something along the lines of, we're looking for a house with a safe electrical system. So that's great right there. I put in, and we're going to help you find a house that won't electrocute you. And he clicked back about 3 minutes later. He says, you're the guy. So works for me.
Give them what they want.
Absolutely. People, the internet is such a serious place that, and I do the exact same thing with my blogs. I won't give you where my blog is, but I think I've got the highest hits on one particular blog post out there right now of anybody on that particular site, because it's just funny. It's top 15 things a listing agent would love to tell their seller but won't. And then, of course, then I've got myriads of posts behind me of listing agents getting on the bandwagon and saying, you forgot this, you forgot this. It's humor, and they love it.
As quickly, really, as you can. So in other words, you have to wait for them to either review the summary or the full proposal, and then you can add the note. You can't add it until, so as soon as it comes up, and I will do it then. And now I'm going to start, as we were talking, about resubmitting if they haven't read, the proposal. Like, did you get it? Did you overlook it? I think, once again, more touches, the more success that you will have. Of the ones that actually respond to us, in other words, that we get an email or a call, I would probably say that 75% transfer to actual listings. So getting, if they get back to me, I have a really good chance of getting it listed.
Yeah, was your question how many do you put in escrow after they click through to you, or on the front end, how many proposals do you fill out before you actually get a live fish?
Yeah, that's really my question. How many?
All right. We don't track that. I do know that as I was sitting in here this morning, 4 leads came through. So we just keep plugging them in, and when we get one, everybody jumps up and down, and it's great.
Yeah, sometimes it seems like it's in runs. You can go for a couple of weeks and not hear anything, and then all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 back, and I don't know.
Totally depends on the market. When the market was a seller's market, we were getting tons of sellers. Right now, we got buyers out the yin-yang and not a lot of what we would call normal sales, because in the Bay Area, they don't want to compete with REOs and short sales. So they're hoping it's going to all come back someday and they can sell their house for a real amount of money. In the meantime, buyers are clicking through all day long.
I think it also, they have control, but you also have some control as to who you're going to respond to. I do not respond to every request for proposal that comes my way. I tend to concentrate mostly on sellers. You can get some that are out of your area, whether you want to respond to those or not, but mostly sellers, and I won't respond to ones that are under a certain price point that I've determined just don't make sense to me. Yeah. So I think it sort of depends. But I don't know. For me, it's one of my primary listing tools. I will tell you that.
We do it a little different way, because we will, if they're breathing, we're going to hit them. The only difference to that would be I live in Fremont, which is on the southeast corner of the San Francisco Bay, and we got one come in this morning for Sausalito, which is across the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm not going there. So I'm not sure how that lead came flying through, but I'd love to work with them, but I'm not going to pay the gas to get over there. But we figure if they're willing to take the time to go on HomeGain, do a proposal, we're willing to at least be a part of their education process, because if we can touch them down the road, if they're saying they want to buy a $100,000 house in San Jose, it's not going to happen. But we will have touched them. We will have their contact information, and we will hook them up with our lender, who will start cleaning up their credit, and before too long, we end up with a real buyer.
A $500,000 home in California is not the same as a $500,000 home in Columbus, Georgia. So we get a $500,000 home in Columbus, Georgia, we go woo woo.
In Chicago, we have a really big range of price points, and I find that there are easily as many, at least on the seller side, that are over 500,000 as really under, or let's say 400. There's a big range there. So I find that the sellers of maybe the higher bracket are using it as much as the other, across the board.
We're finding on the luxury end of things, we're not getting a lot of those. I think in the area that we're at, the luxury market has a couple key people that they go to. So we're not seeing those so much. We see tons of buyer leads that I would classify as first-time buyers. So we actually brand ourselves in our proposals as first-time buyer specialists. And that really resonates very well with a lot of people. And they click through. And then we describe what that means and how that separates us from everybody else, and it works well.
I find, actually, I think seems to have more success not being in the spotlight. And so maybe it has something to do just with the proposal that's resonating. I think actually that the spotlight has not been instrumental in a greater number of sales.
We've had some that have actually clicked through to us before I even got my proposal in because I was an agent spotlight. But truth be known, we create our own spotlight by being the first agent to respond, hands down, every time. I get agents that come up and want to know, what do you think about HomeGain? And I said, give it your best shot, but you're going to go head-to-head with me. So give it your best shot. But that's more than the spotlight, in my opinion, what makes it work. Being the first in the door every time. Hi, look no further. You found... No, what I do is I use large text, large blue text that steps out away from the page. I think I'm using 5, the font size 5 for that, and I answer their questions. I use their name. The very first thing they see is their name, followed by a response that deals really with what they're saying for. I keep that as short as possible, but if they made some comment about what they're looking for, that's absolutely going to show up in the second line, so it's as personable as possible.
I try to talk about really, I think my first line is, selling real estate is not about bricks and dirt, it's about people. And sort of that's my approach. It's not really, it's person to person.
What we're going to start doing to add to that is we're going to start embedding video in there. The dilemma right now is that we're so busy that, the 80-hour, I wish I was only working 80 hours a week right now. It is just, we're slammed. We're absolutely slammed in the current market. We will be putting video in, and it will be put just some real fun stuff. Again, some of the humor kinds of things, just real light. Hi, I'm a real person. Love to work with you, and here's why I think you should. Stuff like that.